Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to break down two-game early slates as well as the 4-game main slate for CS:GO on Wednesday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, and esports daily fantasy sports slates, esports including Call of Duty, League of Legends, and this one Counter-Strike CS:GO. Also, just want to say thank you guys for all the support. Seriously, we are now closing in, getting close to 3.3 thousand subscribers at, I believe, 3.27. Yeah, if you guys enjoy this content, again, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. The notification bell especially does really help me out. And hit that subscribe button if you guys are not subscribed. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. Before we get into players and their prices for these slates on Wednesday, what we can do is we can look back at my lineup here from Tuesday. So Tuesday, once again for me, was just like Monday. I was looking great, going in pretty good, right? I was on the money line, in the money, in the tournaments, going into that last game. And then, what do you know? Last game disappointed. It was Fallen this time. That was a pretty big disappointment. And, game MIBR were pretty heavily favored. He had an off game for sure, 16-22. But let's go with the rest of my lineup here. So Floppy, Fallen, Caserado, Yuri, MOTM, and Bubsky. So I just want to talk about a couple things first. One is the recency bias. Now, I'm kicking myself a little bit. Normally, I do try to avoid some of the chalk and get different elsewhere. Basically, I played all the chalk today. I played Floppy was chalk, Fallen was chalk, and Bubsky was chalk. You could argue Caserado wasn't as chalky, but he was one of my favorite plays. But yeah, there was direct pivots, which I mentioned in the video, that were way lower owned. Like Floppy was almost 80% owned in this tournament. OC was like 20%, or maybe he wasn't that low, but he was pretty low. And OC obviously did better. And then you had Bubsky. I mentioned Bubsky and Shajosh, right? Bubsky was 65% owned. You had Shajosh at like 20%. Shajosh had the better day, right? And again, I'm kind of kicking myself for going all the chalk because, guys who have big games are just going to be a lot higher owned the next day. That's just how it goes. And what I like doing is getting on a guy after they have a bad day. A guy like Caserado, right? He had back-to-back pretty bad games. People were telling me, oh, Caserado doesn't look good. He's a bad play. And then comes out and gets you 41 fancy points. So yeah, really just kicking myself for going all chalk there. I guess, my thought process was, okay, I'm just going to play all the chalk and try to get different with a guy like MOTM. And MOTM wasn't great for his price, 15 fancy points. C9 actually lost that game. They were in control the first half. I believe they were winning 10-5. I didn't get to watch the second half, but I saw they ended up losing. So a little bit surprising there that they did lose. Again, I believe MIBR lost too. And then, Bubsky, the reason why he didn't have a great day is because Mad Lions just destroyed him, and they won so easily that he didn't really have to do anything. He went 13-10. So that was the downside there, and he was really, really popular. But, yeah, all in all, once again, just missed the cash. Fallen definitely killed me, right? If you want to cash in GPPs, again, I know I talk about it a lot, but it's very, very difficult. You cannot have a bust in your lineup unless you hit on the guy that goes nuts in your captain spot, right? So say if you had Caserado in your captain spot, then you could probably, allow one letdown or so. But other than that, like I said, it is really, really hard to cash in these tournaments, especially, again, the higher dollar ones, right? So that's basically the look back there of Tuesday's slate. So now let's talk about, we have two early slates as well as the 4-game main slate. So one of the early slates is actually the Dreamhack tournament. It's the Oceania division. We have, again, 2 games, Order versus Avent. That one's basically a pick 'em. We have Avent at slight favorites at -130, and we have Renegades versus Chiefs Esports. Renegades are enormous favorites there at -1400. So let's talk about that one first. There actually are some decent sized contests for this. So I figured why not include this one in the video. All right, so we'll start with the first game, which is Order versus Avant. Again, that one's basically a pick'em. So Order is a team I have watched a couple games on back when, what was that? It was a different tournament, but I did get to see a couple of the games because they were playing like later at night. It wasn't in the middle of the night. It was like 8 or 9 p.m. So I actually did get to watch a few of these. The Order team, if we're just looking through their numbers, they're going to have, I mean, everyone basically in this division is going to have better numbers because they're not playing against as good of competition. But yeah, Alistar, 0.77 kills per round, 0.59 deaths per round. You have Valiance at 0.7 and 0.63. You have Ustelo at 0.72 and 0.63. Ricky at 0.72 and 0.58. And Gerard 0.64 and 0.65. So no one's really terrible, right? Gerard is slightly negative, but everyone else is positive. Now let's look at their prices. So you have Ricky at the top at 7.6K. I think he's certainly in play. I think I would just prefer Alistar for a little bit less at 7.2K. He uses the AWP. He just has better numbers overall slightly, and he's a little bit cheaper. So if you're just searching for the optimal play, it probably is Alistar. If you want to get different and only pick one of those, yeah, sure, go Ricky. With Valiance, Ustelo, and Gerard. Gerard would probably be my least favorite just because, again, he has slightly negative numbers for the last 3 months. Not saying he can't have a good game, right? He's definitely going to be somewhat low-owned. But if we're talking about Valiance versus Ustelo here, both are at 6 points. Or Valiance at 6.6, Ustelo's at 6.4. Again, I'll probably slightly give the edge there to Ustelo since he has slightly better numbers. Again, I'm not going off a whole lot here. I've only really watched 1 or 2 of these of Orders games. So I'm basically going, basing this a lot off of the overall just, historic numbers. Yeah, that's probably who I would target there in order. I think I would rank my plays probably Alistar 1, Ricky 2, Ustelo 3, Valiance 4. But let's now talk about the other side. So Avant is a team I have not got to see at all. I have not seen any of their gameplay. But let's go through the numbers real quick, right? So we have Apak at 0.66 and 0.61, Hazard 0.74 and 0.65, so that doesn't look bad. Then you have Sterling, a 0.83 and 0.55. So obviously that really stands out to me. Like that's like Simple's numbers, right? That could, I think that would even be better than Simple's numbers. So yeah, he really stands out if we're just looking at focusing on the numbers here. Ofnu at 0.71, 0.62, and Blitz at 0.73 and 0.63. So again, a lot of these guys look good with numbers, but they're not playing against as good of competition. I think the guy that obviously stands out to me is Sterling. He's going to be very, very popular. 8.6K, but with those numbers, it is kind of hard to fade. So I really like Sterling. He's one of my favorite plays of the day on this 2-game slate. The other plays, I believe, let's see, we have Blitz, 0.73 and 0.63, Ofnu, 0.71 and 0.62, Hazard, 0.74 and 0.65. Apaka's the worst overall numbers. He's probably the cheapest, yeah. Again, Blitz at 6K, I think that looks pretty decent for his numbers, a 0.73 and 0.63. I think he would probably be my second favorite play against Hazard, Ofnu are definitely viable as well. And this one, again, is almost a pick'em, so if these are best of 3s too, at least this early slate, the rest of them are best of 1s. So it is interesting. It is just something I thought I'd bring up that, again, these are best of 3 series. I think you could go, if you wanted to go 2 on the Order side and 1 on the Avant side, or you could go all 3 if you think a team really dominates, right? 3 on one side. Yeah, let's now move on to the next game here. We have Renegades versus Chiefs Esports. So this is one where I have got to watch Renegades a few times. They've really dominated the games that I've seen, and they're the biggest favorites by far in the slate. So this is one where I'm not going to get cute. If the upset happens, then I'll just lose. But I'm just going to go with a 3-man Renegade stack here and completely avoid the Chiefs side. Yeah, I don't have any interest there. If you want to get contrarian and take a shot on one of these guys, go for it. But on short slates like this, sometimes you just got to take a stand. And this is where I'm taking a stand. I'm just not even going to consider them. I'm going with the full 3-man Renegade stack here. And these are, there's very appealing plays here. You could honestly make an argument for any of these 5 guys for Renegade. So we have Dexter at 0.78 and 0.63, and INS at 0.75 and 0.61. Those are the 2 top players in this team, but we still have guys that have upside too. Malta at 0.67 and 0.61, Sicko at 0.71 and 0.54, and Hats is at 0.62 and 0.62. So the three that stand out the most to me, obviously, we're just looking at the numbers, right? INS, Sicko, Dexter. But Malta and Hats are certainly in play here if you want to get a little bit different. And, again, this is a game you would expect they should be able to 2-0 this one. So all five, I think, are certainly viable. Again, I think the top three guys there would be Dexter, Sicko, INS. They're the most expensive guys. But really, on this slate in general, there's the highest risk guy is 8.6K, so you can almost get whoever else you want in your lineup. So, do you want to get chalky and just play the top three guys, or maybe play two of these top three guys and get different and go like Malta or Hats for lower ownership, right? To kind of differentiate yourself in a two-game slate. If you're just going just for like a GPP takedown, I would say in this slate, maybe leave a little bit of money on the table, right? Take a shot at one of those cheaper guys over one of the more expensive guys to kind of differentiate yourself. But, all right, that really wraps it up for this slate. Let's now talk about the two-game early slate for, I believe, what is it, at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. Eastern. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at those numbers. Let me exit out, close a couple of these tabs down. We have... let's see. We have Ents versus Saw. Ents are pretty big favorites here at -500. And we have Dignitas versus Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro slight favorites here at -160. Both VP and Dignitas did not look good today in the games that I saw. Let's talk about the first game here. Ents versus Saw. So, again, on these smaller slates, I kind of do take stands. I'm probably just going to avoid Saw and go with a three-man Ents stack. Again, the one guy I would consider here would be Muteris. At 8.6K. He was the one guy that had a good day today against NIP. He went 19 and 14, and he has the best overall numbers by far in this team. He's sitting at 0.74 and 0.66. Everyone else, nothing to write home about. So if you wanted to go one-off, that's the way I would go. Personally, though, I will be going with a three-man end stack. So on the end side, Alu, yeah, the top play of the day, in my opinion, at 9, or one of the top plays. At 9.4K, he's expensive, but I'll probably eat the chalk here. Sure, didn't have a great day today against Vitality, went 19 and 21, but he's got the best numbers overall, and he's got upside to have like an enormous game. Again, these are only best of ones, but he has the upside really to put up like 30, 40 fantasy points in one game. He's got good overall numbers, 2.74 and 0.62. Again, he uses the op. That's always a plus. So Lou, he's going to be really, really chalky, but that's probably one where I'm not going to get cute. I'm probably just going to eat the chalk in this early slate. I like him a lot. Now let's talk about the other members in the team. So this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. We have Ariel is negative overall KD, 0.63 and 0.69. He is sitting at 6.4K. You have Sergey at 0.66 and 0.66. He's the second most expensive at 7.6K. Then you have Jampy, who's kind of struggled recently. He's got almost an even KD. He's a new addition to the team, 0.7 and 0.69. Again, he's struggled recently, though. Went 18 and 23 against Vitality today. Against NIP, went 37 and 51. Against Vitality, went 29 and 36. So besides that first game against Navi, he has kind of struggled. And then we have Sunny at 0.65 and 0.70. So really, if we're just looking at those other four guys, nothing really stands out as far as just like looking at their KD ratios. So it makes it a little bit difficult for me to kind of differentiate these guys. Again, Jampy, I think, is the most risky of the bunch just because we haven't seen him a lot in this team. He's only played about 4 games, and the last 3 has been really bad. I think that's going to lower his ownership for sure. So maybe that's where I try to get different and take a shot. And hopefully he has a bounce back game. As far as Ariel, Sunny, Sergey, and Ariel has the worst numbers of those 3, but he also is the cheapest. I guess I would say my next favorite player would probably be Sunny at 6.8. Compared to Sergey at 7.6, where Sunny's at 0.65 and 0.7, Sergey 0.66, 0.66. It's a close one, right? I wish I had a stronger lean for you guys with these next 4 guys, but I really don't. So yeah, obviously Alou really stands out to me. As far as the other four guys in the team, it's a little bit hard for me to differentiate who I really want to go to. So yeah, I probably am going to go with the 3-man end stack, but the other two guys, it'll probably just be a gut call for me, and who I feel good about, maybe who I think will be the lowest owned, right? So let's now move on to VP versus Dignitas. So we had both. This one is sitting at VP or slight favorites at -160, and both teams did not look good today. Dignitas lost 5-16 against Mad Lions. You had VP lose 7-16 against Mac, and then 7-16 versus Mad Lions as well. So yeah, both these teams struggled. But one thing I really like doing is getting going right back to the wall on a guy who had a bad day. Like the top player in the team, if they have a bad day, I love playing them again. So a guy like James, he was a letdown for me on the early slate today. Definitely, right? He was not good. He finished with 5 fantasy points, went 10-19. But he's got the best overall numbers on this team. Again, he uses the off. That's always a plus. He's at 0.71 and 0.57. He's got really, really good numbers. So I really like James. He's one of my favorite plays on this early slate. I love him for that price point. If we talk about Yakander and Q-Kurt here, Yakander actually looked decent at his okay numbers too. Again, the new addition to the team, 0.73 and 0.70. And then Q-Kurt at 0.67 and 0.63. So if we're just talking about price, I would prefer Q-Kurt to Yakander. I think you can run all three if you want to go a VP stack. I think those, again, would be the top three guys. Adrian and Sanji, I don't think I want to do it on this slate. They just don't have the best numbers. Again, they're more OBJ players. I would rather just target the top 3 guys. So, yeah, I really like James. He's one of my favorite, if not my favorite play of the day for his price on this early slate. I like Q-Kurt as well for value, and then Yakander. So I'd probably rank them, James, Q-Kurt, Yakander. And then again, Adrian, Sanji, I don't think I get to those guys. On the Dignitas side, again, both these teams have really struggled. I think, the guy that I have the most interest in still is Forrest. Again, he has the best overall numbers. He is the most expensive at 8.2K, but yeah, I think he is the guy. Again, he had a good game against Mouse Esports in a game that they lost. He went 24-18. So he's the most consistent of the bunch, and he's got the best overall numbers on this team. I think Forrest is my favorite play on the Dignitas side. Everyone else, so Freiberg and Zist are two guys I kind of just cross off every time when looking at this team. Halzark has the next best numbers of 0.72 and 0.66. Get Right's viable as well, right? He's slightly negative. So yeah, I would rank it probably Forrest 1 and Halzark 2, Get Right 3, priced in order of how they are priced on the slate. Now, again, these are best of 1 games, so how am I going to attack this? Again, I'm probably going to go with a 3-man end stack, and then, I don't know, I could do a 3-man VP or 3-man Dignitas stack, or kind of get a maybe 2 from one from the other in this last game. So that's how I'm going to approach it. I'm probably going to go with the 3-man end stack, and then don't really know how I'm going to go about this last game, but there are obviously plays I like on both sides. So that's enough talking about the early slates, and let's now move on to the main slate here. This is a pretty interesting slate. I don't think it's going to be as chalky as the recent slates we've had, because there's not a lot of like standout plays in my opinion. Just looking over these prices, and Draftkings definitely did a better job with pricing these guys. It makes it more difficult to make a lineup, which is always good, because when it's so easy, you're just going to have the same guys be super chalky like we've seen the last few slates. So let's go over some of these numbers here. We have the first game of the day here is Astralis versus Team Vitality. We have Vitality at -145 favorites. I think I agree with that. Vitality has looked really good recently, and Astralis of the 2 new players, it's kind of up in the air. So let's talk about players first and their prices. Zywoo at 9.2K. The price has gone up a little bit. He still really stands out. Yeah, he's one of the top spend-ups of the day, if not the top spend-up in my opinion. He's got great overall numbers. Again, he uses the op. He really carries this team. He had an okay day, right? You probably expected a little bit more of that most recent game where he only went 22 and 20. Still put up 24 fantasy points, though, which is not bad. Again, if you look at his numbers, they are really, really good. Almost 0.8, right? 0.79 and 0.61. Everyone else in his team is negative. Besides, I guess Shocks actually now has moved to a slightly positive KD. But you get the gist, right? He does really carry this roster, so he's someone that does really stand out to me. He's got enormous upside. I really like Zywoo at that price point. Everyone else on the team with Shocks, Apex, Mistu, and RPK have actually all flashed upside here because Vitality has been playing really, really good. They've been beating every team, right? If we're looking at just like box scores, they've all had pretty decent scoring outings recently. So with Shocks, Apex, Mistu, and RPK, they're all priced close to the same, right? It's about $1,000 different with Shocks and RPK. I think it's getting close enough now where I'm probably just going to lean towards Shocks or Apex. I think those are the next two guys that have the most upside. If we're looking at, the DraftKings fantasy points per game, right, they have slightly better numbers than Mistu and RPK. So those would be the next two guys. I think they are viable at their prices. And for how good Vitality's been playing recently and how kind of a question mark Astralis is, I think you can look to pair one of those two guys below Zywoo with Zywoo. I think that's certainly viable if that's the way you want to go. So let's now move on to Astralis. So these price tags in these Astralis guys really kind of just confuse me. So two guys I will have absolutely no interest in for the prices are Magisk and Dupree. I want none of them. At 9.8 for Magisk and 9.4 for Dupree, absolutely no interest in either of those guys. Again, Astralis has lost two of their key members in Glaive and Zipex, and they're replacing with Snappy and Yugi. Both struggled. Yugi has been struggling recently. He did have a good first game there, but that most recent game went 7 and 18. Snappy had a really bad day too. I think it went 8 and 21. So, can you go to one of those guys? Yeah, I would probably go Yugi for the price point of 4.6K. But you're really not going to feel great about it. So that's kind of more of a dart throw for GPPs and just hope he doesn't kill you. But again, the price point is really cheap for Yugi. So that's why I would definitely prefer Yugi over Snappy. Again, Dupree and Magisk are just cross off for their price. Device is slightly overpriced, but I think he makes for an interesting contrarian play. He was really popular that last slate a couple of days ago. I think his ownership is going to drop dramatically here. Sorry. I think he makes for an interesting contrarian play at 10.4K. Again, the downside is they're playing with two new players. The team's probably going to struggle, for these next few games. So, I do like Device. I like him more as a contrarian play. I definitely prefer Zywoo for his price point, right? About $1,200 cheaper. That doesn't make Device out of play. And can you play both these guys in the same lineup? I think you can. That's really going to differentiate yourself if you play both Device and Zywoo and it stays close and both those guys really carry the roster, which they do, right? If we just look at those numbers, Device also has really, really good numbers. He's one of the best players right now in CSGO. 0.78, 0.61. He can really carry this team. Again, Dupree and Magisk, I just don't want to go there at their respective prices. They're too expensive. I would just much prefer getting a little bit more for Device. With Yugi and Snappy, again, I'd probably just rather take a shot on Yugi and hope he doesn't kill you at 4.6K. So I really think the only two guys I'd consider would be Device and Yugi. And I'm not really excited about Yugi at all. It's really kind of only Device, but if you're getting Device, you're probably going to have to play something really cheap. So, that Device-Yugi pairing kind of makes sense for roster construction purposes. But that's really it. Astralis as a team I'm not super excited about. Let's now move on to C9 versus Evil Geniuses. So this one projected to stay close. EG slight favorites at minus 140. All right, let's talk about the C9 guys first here. So C9, again, they looked really good the first half. They actually were let down the second half. They ended up losing. Still had decent games. Like Floppy, I think, he put up like 32 for me in the captain spots. What was it, like 21 or so in the flex spot. OC had a really good day. I mentioned him again as a pivot. I think he had 31 fancy points. Floppy at 8.2K. He's definitely not going to be as popular as he was today. He was the ultimate chalk. He was like almost 80% owned in that $33 tournament. His ownership is going to drop a lot as well. I don't mind going back to ball here. He didn't have a bad day, right? It just, 21 or 22 for a best of one isn't bad. But again, I just think the ownership is going to drop on him. I still have interest in Floppy. Again, he's the best player in this team, in my opinion. I've watched a lot of C9s. So I still prefer Floppy, even though he's the most expensive. I like OC as well, though. Again, he had a good game today. Maybe his ownership will rise slightly. Again, he uses the off. That's always a plus. These are the two guys that do carry the roster. So OC, Floppy are two guys I like a good amount here if you want to look for the C9 side. Sonic and MOTM are two guys that are also viable. Both can have decent games. They're both priced pretty cheap, right at 6.4 and 6.2K. I always slightly give the edge to MOTM. I guess it's more just a personal thing because I just have always gone MOTM for Sonic. I think he's slightly better. I think he's a little bit more aggressive. Sonic does get to use, when they use two ops, he will use the second op, which I guess that's a plus. But MOTM is usually that first guy in the gunfights a lot. And I just like playing those more aggressive players. So that's why I slightly give the edge to MOTM over Sonic. And they're both very similar plays. Sonic has actually picked up more ownership recently, I've noticed, than MOTM. So, again, I like that more. I like usually going with the lower owned guy when I think that they're very similar. So, all in all, the C9 side, there are some good plays here, right? Floppy, OC at the top. MOTM, I think, is a cheaper option. JT, kind of a cross-off. On the EG side, so this is a team I think will be more popular just because they're favorites, right? We just see that every single day in CSGO, the team that are favorites are just going to be way more popular. Now, again, this one is projected to stay close, but still, EG, they're just going to be more popular than C9. I think one of the more popular plays in the slate is going to be Cirque. He's looked really good the last couple of games. In that game against 100 Thieves in the Dreamhack Masters, he went 58 and 52. He made a couple of nice clutches there, and then, again, played 100 Thieves again. Looked really good. Went 29 and 14, put up 34 fancy points. And his price tag, that's too cheap. That's about $1,500 too cheap in my opinion. So Cirque does really stand out again. I think he's gonna be pretty popular in my opinion. They're favorites. He's way underpriced. So I like Cirque a lot. Again, he uses the op. Breeze at 7.8K. If you want to pair someone with Cirque, it would be Breeze for me. He has the best overall numbers on EG. 0.75 and 0.66. So those top two guys are like a good amount. With Ethan, Tariq, and Stanislaw, I think all three are still in play. Again, they don't have terrible numbers. Ethan's slightly negative, Tariq slightly negative, Stanislaw a little bit more negative, I guess. So I think I'd rank them, Ethan and then Tariq. Stanislaw, I don't know if I get to him at that price point. But really, the main two guys I mentioned, again, Cirque, he's going to be very, very popular, and Breeze, the best overall numbers on this team for the last 3 months. So those two top guys I really do like the most. If I was going to target a third, it probably would be Ethan. All right, let's now move on to Triumph versus 100 Thieves. So 100 Thieves are the biggest favorites of the day right now. We don't have the Gen G versus MIBR Vegas odds out yet. But, I don't think that's going to be – I don't think either of those teams are going to be that big of favorites. So 100 Thieves, the biggest favorites in the main slate at minus 360. So let's first talk about the Triumph side. This is a team I know they won today, but I'll probably just avoid. Again, on slates, sometimes you just got to take a stand. I'll probably just take a stand and fade these guys. If you want to target someone on the Triumph side, it would be Grim, right? He's got a .83 kills per round, .67 deaths per round. Everyone else is not great, right? All slightly negative. So if you want a one-off here, it would be Grim for me. 8.8K. It is kind of a lot. He's going to be pretty contrarian in my opinion because they're the biggest underdogs of the day. But I still think he is in play because of how good his numbers are. Everyone else, though, I think I kind of avoid. On the 100 Thieves side, so this is a little bit more tricky now. The Draftkings, again, they did a better job pricing these guys with the top three guys all got a pretty big price hike, and the bottom two guys went up a little bit too. I guess the downside with this 100 Thieves roster is they are a little bit more balanced, right? You have Gratisfaction at 0.7 to 1 to 0.65, Liaz at 0.61 and 0.64, so slightly negative, Jakeem at 0.74 and 0.68, AZR slightly negative, 0.73 and 0.67, and JKS at 0.71 and 0.59. So, if we're just looking at those numbers, right, it's JKS and Jakeem that stand out the most to me. You have JKS at 8.4, Jakeem at 7.4K. So if we're just talking about price, my favorite play for 100 Thieves is Jakeem, right? He's got good overall numbers. He's about $1,000. He's $1,000 cheaper than JCast, $1,200 cheaper than Gratisfaction. He's a very aggressive player too, which I do like. Yeah, so Jakeem is probably my favorite play here on the 100 Thieves side. I really like him. I think he's going to be pretty popular. But yeah, I think I'll probably eat the chalk with him. Again, I like JCast Gratisfaction too. I prefer JCast slightly to Gratisfaction. Gratisfaction uses the op. JCast maybe a little bit more of an aggressive player. So if we're ranking those top 3 guys for me with the price included, right, it's Jakeem 1, JCast 2, Gratisfaction 3. I think AZR and Liaz are viable, though, as cheap options. Again, they're the biggest favorites of the day, and they both had good games that most recent game. Against EG, AZR went 18 and 19. That's not bad for that price, right? And then Liaz went 20 and 16, went 24 fancy points. 3 most recent games, 70, 72, 37, and some of those are best of 3s. This most recent one is a best of 1. But I think those cheap options, again, normally the bottom guys in the roster I avoid. But when teams are pretty heavily favored, that's when I think you can target some of those cheap options. So I think AZR Liaz are viable for some salary relief plays on this 100 Thieves side. Again, that's kind of where I'm taking my stand. If Triumph pulls off the upset, so be it. But I'm probably going to go with the 100 Thieves side personally. And lastly, we have Gen G versus MIBR. Again, we don't have the odds out for this one yet. If I had to guess, I would say it would be almost a pick 'em. Both teams did lose today. You had MIBR. They ended up tying it. So they were down 15-12 to Chaos. They did end up tying it. And then you had Gen G lost to Fury there 16-8. So I guess MIBR tied, Gen G lost. Let's talk about the prices now. So the Gen G side is obviously more, the price tags they just look better, right? You have the top guys, Kusta at 7K, Automatic at 7K, Ben 10 at 6.8K. The guy who's looked the best recently for this Gen G side is Kusta. Those are 2, or was that a best of 3? Yeah, no, the most recent game there was a best of 1, where he went 25 and 12, put up 40 fancy points. He had a pretty good game today, too, even in losing effort, I believe. He was the best player there on the Gen G side. So Kusta is playing the best right now. Again, him, Automatic, and Ben 10 all have very similar numbers. And they're all priced about the same, right? So they're pretty similar plays. Kusta's been playing the best. He's probably going to be the most popular. I would probably rank it Kusta 1, Ben 10 2, Automatic 3. Automatic uses the off. That's always a slight plus, too. I think Som is okay. Again, more of a contrarian value play because they are, in my opinion, I think they will be underdogs. But let's now move on to the MIBR side. So, what do I love doing for CSGO? I love playing, a star on a team after a bad day. It was Quesarado the last few games, right? He struggled, came back in a huge way, put up 40 fancy points. You had, again, James in the earlier slate. I talked about him. He really struggled today. I'm going back to Walder in the early slate. Fallen was a huge letdown. Again, he let down me big time. He's maybe a little bit overpriced at 9K for looking at everyone else in his team. But that's just something, again, his ownership is going to fall big time. I'm probably going to go right back to the wall there. He has the best overall numbers of the team, 0.73 and 0.60. Again, he uses the op. He's also a pretty aggressive player. I really like Fallen. I think he's going to be more contrarian today just because he let a lot of people down and had an off game today. But that's just something I really like doing. I like going back to the wall on guys after, star players after they have a bad game because the ownership is just going to drop. Watch. Fallen was, 50, 60% owned today? He's probably going to be 20% owned in this slate. So I like Fallen just for that reason. Fur and KNGV, now you're getting a little bit separation from those two. Normally they're priced about the same. They both have very similar numbers too, right? You have Fur at 0.76 and 0.66, KNGV at 0.76 and 0.67. So I would prefer KNGV to Fur for about $1,000 difference. I think the optimal place here on the MIBR side would probably be KNGV 1, Fur 2, and Fallen 3, right? Fallen's probably not the optimal play at that price point, but he's going to be very low on. Again, I'm kind of talking more of a GPP mindset here when I'm talking about how I like Fallen. If we're talking about cash games, then he probably might be a little bit overpriced, right? You're probably going to want to prefer KNGV to Fallen. Taco and TRK. Taco's a guy I probably don't get to. TRK at that price point at 4.2, that intrigues me a little bit, right? He's at 0.68 and 0.67. Now, sure, he's a slightly new addition to the team. He hasn't looked great recently, but that's a lot better than Taco's numbers. He had, what was it? Again, he had a really bad game there against Fury. Went 21 of 41. A bad game there against Liquid. Did go positive there against Fury, though, 2019. I think he's someone that you can consider. Again, you're really not going to feel great about it. Kind of, he's in the range of like Yugi, right? As those really cheap options that if you want to go stars and scrubs and get a lot of those top guys, you have to take a shot in one of those guys at the bottom. So, sure, you're not going to feel great about it, but it's going to allow you to get those stars in your lineup. All right, so now let's talk about captains and who I would consider for cash games, right? If we're just talking about cash games, who are probably my cash game plays, right? So a guy like ZywOo, he would be definitely one of the top cash game plays in my opinion. And then JKS and Jakeem, right? Jakeem over JKS. And then let's see. I think that the top guys in the C9 EG games, I would say Breeze and Floppy. KNGV, I think it looks pretty good. And you're getting them at a pretty big discount off of Fallen and Fur. And then Cirque as well. I think Cirque is viable too. So that's probably where I would look if we're just talking about cash games, right? If we're talking about GPPs, so again, my GPP mindset is I do like playing a lot of the chalk, but I kind of like differentiating myself in a couple ways. So I think, the chalk tomorrow is going to be ZywOo 1. I would say probably a couple of 100 Thieves guys since they're the biggest favorites. So I would say 2 100 Thieves guys, probably Jakeem and JKS, and ZywOo. If I was playing cash games, those are the guys I would start my cash game lineup with. I think those are going to be those three are going to be the most popular plays of the day, in my opinion. But yeah, there's other ways you can look to, right? You can, if you don't want to go ZywOo and get pretty risky, you can look to Device for a little bit more on the opposite side. Or you could play both those guys together, hope for a close game, but then you're going to have to play someone, you're going to have to take a shot on one of the really cheap guys. Yeah, the C9 EG game and this game, for cash games, is a little bit difficult because it's a game that's basically a toss-up. But yeah, again, the plays I mentioned, my favorite play in C9 will be Floppy. My favorite play in EG for his price will probably be Cirque. Triumph's a team I'm probably going to avoid. If you want to go one-off, it would be Grim. Gen G, again, the price points look pretty good in these guys. Both teams did lose. I think MABR are the better team, but I think, again, the price points do look really good in these guys. Kusta has been playing the best, so he's probably going to be the most popular of the bunch on the MIBR setting. And if we're just talking about cash games, the cash game play is probably KNGV, right? And then Fur, and then Fallen. If you're looking for GPPs and low ownership, you're going to get Fallen at pretty low ownership after having a bad game today. So I think that is going to do it for the video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I really appreciate it if you leave a like in this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Hitting that notification bell is the most important. It really does help me out to continue to put out free content for you guys. Again, we have Call of Duty coming up this weekend, so I'll probably have a video up either Wednesday night or Thursday night for that. And then CSGO, and we're going to continue to have videos every single night up for CSGO. So yeah, thanks again for everyone coming and check the video again. I hope you guys all staying safe, and I will see you all in the next video.